All right, so today I want to talk about the NBA restarting. It seems that there's some people, some players, I should say, that are not quite on board with restarting like other players. And look, this is something that I said a little while back, and I wouldn't say it's exactly come to fruition, but kind of still. And I never really elaborated on it, but I did say that there was no reason for the NBA to restart this season. No reason outside of greed. And I stand by that statement wholeheartedly. That wasn't just because of the corona. Mainly, I would say about 90%. But then the other stuff, actually, I would say 95%. And then there obviously was everything going on with the demonstrations and the movements. But honestly, my thoughts were mainly health wise, but there's also other things to consider as well. And so one of the big reasons that we have to understand and admit for a lot of the demonstration is because of the pandemic. And even talking about the demonstrations with people and kind of asking ourselves, why is it that it's more global this time? And I think social media definitely plays a factor, but then I think the pandemic is also a thing as well. And so I think both of those have combined to increase the efforts of what's going on. So to deny that the lack of quote unquote distractions and the lack of normalcy doesn't play a part would be, I think, kind of ignorant. So that's all true. We have to agree with that. But for me, again, it goes back to the health part. So there's a lot of stuff laid out, and I will give Adam Silver and everybody in the NBA credit that they have not did the thing that some of our leaders try to do and give us the spin. They didn't say, oh, well, it's perfectly fine and you'll be fine and we got nothing to worry about. You just come in here, it'll be easy peasy. No, they have been upfront that it's not only going to be difficult, but it's going to be a big sacrifice. And as much as I want to say this season is so different and you need an asterisk next to it, I still think you do. I'm starting to feel like the asterisk may not be because it was easier. It might be because it was a lot more difficult. People got to remember these are humans. These aren't machines. And so everything that's happening with the social justice, everything that's happening with pandemic, people losing family, isolation, mental health, it all affects them. So to lock yourself in this bubble, and we already seen in America, it is not no easy thing to just say, I'll give up my freedoms, apparently. So to lock yourself in this bubble, to adhere to these strict rules and everything is going to be a sacrifice. And I think Adam Silver and everybody has laid that out. And they gave players the option to not do it if they don't want. So with all that being said, though, it's still to me about, it goes back to the money. There's no getting around it. Now, as much as some people try to sugarcoat it a little bit in that area, we all know it's about the money. And it's about the money for the owners at the end of the day. So we'll get into the Kyrie Irving stuff, but one of the big things that you hear is this whole idea that the players have to do it because then bargaining agreements will open back up and blah, blah, blah. This is the NBA. If you've been following me, I get real deep into the NFL PAs behind because they just really don't do anything for their players, nowhere near compared to what the NBA does. And their bargaining agreement in the NFL is atrocious compared to the NBA. So this idea that the bargaining agreement is going to open up like that's going to somehow destroy the players is just silly to me. I don't even accept that argument. Like, yes, the players will take a hit because they won't get paid, But when basketball resumes, it resumes. Like, it ain't like, oh man, they didn't do the playoffs, so we don't care about basketball anymore. That's not how that's going to happen. The product isn't going to die out. If anything, it's going to be more fever for it. So I don't really agree with that assessment that the players have to do it for their money. I think the only people that really take the hit right now is the owners. I mean, obviously the players, again, especially the lower tier players, take a hit because they don't get those checks. But look, I ain't going to boo-hoo. The athletes are notoriously bad with their money. So if you don't have money right now, that's on you. So anyway, let's move ahead. Or actually, no, I'm going to stick there. Sorry. So one other thing I was going to say is, I've talked to a few people that I know that are friends that have had the COVID test. Now, I've heard mixed things, but from what I'm gathering, the medical COVID tests are still pretty evasive. Not like crazy, but, it's not comfortable. And I've heard they've developed new ones. And again, I don't trust much of any of this because it's all kind of no real research on all of it. But I heard they developed new ones that are more comfortable. But from people I heard recently, they still are doing these tests that are pretty evasive. So apparently, as a player, you have to go through that like pretty much every day. And obviously, after playing against people, because again, body fluid, sweat is one of those things, especially where you could really pass the corona pretty easily and your bodies could be very receptive to it. So obviously after playing games and everything, they're going to have to do it, practices, all these different things. And then if you test positive, you have to quarantine yourself outside of the bubble for 14 days. And then you got to pass some type of medical test to resume. But why would I don't even understand how they would let you resume. Like, because if you test positive and you wait 14 days and you're healthy enough to play, that doesn't mean that you can't still pass it to somebody. So that doesn't make any sense to me. But again, so you just think about it. They'll be there. It's limited access. They got all these amenities to keep the players, kind of engaged, I guess, in Disney World. But still, it's limited access. You're in this bubble. You practice, you play, practice, you play. And then they go into the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And so eventually there are some guest access. I forgot if it's like 1 or 2 per player. So eventually they could come in. They got to be tested as well. But you're being tested all the time. And again, it's just really its own little thing. It's kind of like Fight Island with UFC. It's a big isolation. And so is it the worst thing? They're in Disney World. They got all this stuff. Apparently they get to watch some Disney movies that haven't come out yet. You got all the chefs. They rich. They gonna be cool. But again, to me, is all of that really worth it? Like, do you have to do that? Absolutely not. I wouldn't say have to, because you never have to do sports, but like within the NBA, is it a necessity? And I don't think so. And I don't think within the US it's a necessity. As I said, it's just about the greed. It's the idea of losing money that drives these billionaires crazy. I mean, it drives everybody crazy. Let's not just put it on the billionaires. For the mom and pop shops that had to close down forever, I'm sure this has drove them crazy. From all the food trucks that had to close down, it drives them crazy. Even the franchises that had to stop doing what they're doing, gyms, nail salons, whatever, it drives them crazy. Nobody wants to lose money, but the billionaires in this case have the power to actually recoup, or mitigate some of their losses. And so they're absolutely going to flex it. So am I blaming them like no one else would do this? No, I'm not going to say that, but that's all this is. And a lot of this spin, again, kind of sugarcoating it like, hey, this is us trying to give entertainment to the world that needs it right now. I don't know. Well, I'm not a huge basketball fan. If this was the NFL, maybe I would feel different, so I could empathize with people that look at this as some type of escape and return to normalcy and all that. Obviously, the sports talking heads need it because they are just being idiots this last few months. But I get all that, but it's just a health and concern. So I just don't understand. I just don't think it's a good look to worry about that. But the NBA is going to catch a bone because the rest of the world is being, or the rest of the country is being pretty loose with it as well. And at the exact same time. And what I mean by that is that the rest of the country is opening up prematurely and like, screw it. We're just going to do it because we want to do it. And so the NBA is riding that wave, and that's going to really give them momentum. But again, as I said, when you have players coming out speaking about their health concerns, it's real. Like I said, people have lost family members. I know people that have passed away during this time from the COVID complications. And so we've obviously seen some players that have been infected by it. And so it's a real threat. Like COVID ain't no double dutch. It ain't no, game of freeze tag. COVID is serious. And even if you get I don't know the chances, but let's say it's 50-50. If you get the 50-50 chance that it's not symptomatic for you, you still are now a carrier, and that could go so far no matter where you are. And so I see people, I see articles, I've seen people that I know get COVID recently, just like, oh man, it's cool now, we could go out. No, and they now have corona. And you're seeing articles, people with masks getting affected, obviously, by the protests. And it's just like, no, this thing has not gone away. And so it's a real concern. And so you start to hear some people that voice that concern. Then you got Kyrie Irving and the coalition. And so, as I said, on the health concern, it's a very legit thing to me. Like, again, let's just say optimistically, this was a flash in the pan 2020, and past 2020, we never had to deal with this again. Is it really worth jeopardizing your health, the health of your family, the health of other players to say that, oh, we finished the season, that 1 year? I don't think so. I mean, like, we know the pressure that the players are under during the lockout. Oh, we're missing game checks. Oh, we're not entertaining. We're not doing whatever. We know that pressure. So I can imagine the pressure now, but the stakes are much higher. And so I just don't see any reason on the health side. Now on the Kyrie Irving side. Kyrie Irving and the coalition is basically saying that to resume basketball would be a distraction to what's going on. So obviously, I'm not scared to talk politics and everything, and I try to do those on separate occasions. So if you listen to those episodes, you already know how I feel about it all. But I will say, as I said at the top, that is definitely a factor. If you resume basketball play, it will cause a distraction and it will change momentum, even though momentum's slowing down already. So yes, I agree with that. However, is it to the level that Kyrie is talking? No, not at all. Now, if Kyrie is saying, first of all, Kyrie's not playing, so he can't be talking about himself. So for other players, let's say Avery Bradley, Dwight Howard, if you're talking about it's going to hamper your ability to be out there, yes, I could agree with that because you got a job to do that you don't have to. You don't have to show up for it. But it will hamper your ability to be out there. But will it hamper anybody else's ability? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, I'm glad they're being realist enough to say that, hey, if people had other options, they would be doing other options. They don't really want to be out here like that. And that's true. And so if you give the people the option to be distracted, especially the people against all this stuff, those are the ears that you're really going to take away from what's going on. So I agree with that. However, has been stated by many people, and myself as well, this isn't going to be fixed overnight. It's not going to just go away. Like, as I continue to say, as much as I support people who want to use their voice to act as if this is a revolution, this is our civil rights. I've heard all types of stuff. That's ridiculous. They not in it for the long haul like that. Y'all not changing things like that. Mostly because y'all not united and y'all forcing your anger at the wrong things. But even still, even if it was a concerted, correct effort, it wouldn't happen within the next few months. It's going to take a long time to change things. And so to lose momentum right now, I don't think means a lot. As I said, momentum's already been lost. Like, people have done their thing because most people want to feel like they're part of the solution, and they're going to do that on the easiest way that they can. And that's by low participation, protests, hashtagging, donating. And they've done that. And so now people are moving on. Not to say that everybody is. Obviously, there's people that live this 24/7. And so they're going to continue, but the momentum's already slowing down. Then if the NBA comes back, it's going to slow down a little more, but it's not going to change anybody's ability to go out and do what they got to do or feel they need to do. But it's still going to be a decision up to individuals to do that. And I do think it distracts, but I don't think it erases or covers up what's going on. And the fact that, as other people have said, you have a platform. First of all, you always have a platform. Second, if you think you're going to take all the eyes away from what's going on, then you realize you have all those eyes on you now as that platform. And so you can continue to do things. The problem is nobody has a real concrete plan because nobody has the answer. People want to stand up, and I get it, the pressures of celebrity and everything, but people want to stand up and stand in front, raise their fists and say, look at me, I'm going to be the one, but you don't know anything. And so you don't have any actual steps to get anything done. And so as noble as it sounds of Kyrie Irving and the coalition, y'all don't really, like, if the NBA said, yes, you're right, we're going to stop and shut down, what are you going to start doing then in those next few months that replaces the NBA that would change things? And I guarantee you they don't have an answer for that. And last time I checked, Adam Silver and those owners and all those people, they don't play. The decision makers, the money makers, they not on the court. So if they really, and I doubt they'll be in the bubble. So if they really need something, or if you really need something done, if you really want them working on something outside of basketball to push your agenda, then they can do that while you play. So there's that. So I don't agree with the Kyrie Irving and the coalition part. I don't really agree with the idea of restarting the NBA in general. As much as they put thought into it, it's jumping. Like, again, at the end of the day, I would feel a little more better if you just be honest about why you're doing it. But even still, to me, it's not worth it. And maybe that's a decision each individual person has to make, and I get that. But as the leaders, I would say, no, man, why put it does, like, to me, again, like, oh, somebody might get COVID, or, here's our worst possible outcomes. To me, just don't do it. I mean, it's literally like having sex. Like, okay, I could get pregnant. I could get this type of STD. I could get this STI. This could happen. I get caught, whatever. Or none of that could happen if you just don't do it. And so, what real good reason do you have besides I just want to do it? And so what real good reason does the NBA have besides we just want money? Like you're saying, like every time we say that, people are like, but it's this safeguard and this safeguard, and they thought about this. Yeah. You're making a lot of hoops to make it work, but why? To what end? This isn't, the movie theaters. This isn't, whatever other places where, we're riding on thin margins and if we don't do this now, we won't survive. We live quarter to quarter. No, the NBA is very profitable. All these owners are very profitable and rich. They're not operating at a loss to get to the next year. They don't barely make money. They make big money. And so it's one thing if a company is skating by. It's another when you're a company that can take the hit to take the hit. And maybe it's hard because we don't know what the outlook is. And maybe they say, hey, this is going to last for the next 5 years. Yeah, if we had that information, we could make better decisions. But again, operating with the idea, let's just say this is the only year it happens, it's a drop in the bucket. And so I never agree with it. There's some players that still have apprehension over health. And then now there's the players with apprehension over social justice, which I think is kind of a weak argument. So anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about the NBA restart program or plan, Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.